Hello, dear hearts. Thank you so much for your interest, your wish to connect with Enlightened Lineages and the Enlightened Lineages Rise movement, which is basically about reconnecting our minds and hearts with the Enlightened Lineages traditions of the entire world, being aware that Enlightened Lineages through various traditions have been everywhere on this earth, and of course not all of them are intact until this day. Not all enlightened lineages are traceable right down to the origin. A lot has been destroyed on a worldwide level, misplaced, misused, diluted, and so on and so forth. However, we have a lot of fragments. We still have enough evidence to believe in what has been with us for thousands and thousands of years and what is still very much available to us today. So for those of you who are new to this movement, know that it's very much about your own choice. If you want to seek out enlightenment, if you are interested in the truth seeker's quest, if you want to return to your authentic presence, if you're interested in getting liberated, healing all this world, healing all beings from their pain, their suffering, really communing with the truth, returning to your authentic presence, communing with divinity, so to speak, within and throughout, that choice comes from you, from your heart. And as soon as you wholeheartedly, authentically want to get liberated, want enlightenment, right? Awakening, yeah? Then I can guarantee you, you will find a way. You will find your way. We all have a unique way that contributes to the whole. We are all a unique contribution. Our unique and special and remarkable contribution to the whole is something that is confirmed by the various traditions which come with various teachings that support this truth seeker's quest. If everything was told in the same way, that would mean that we're all the same, and that is not at all the case. Which makes it very interesting, doesn't it? Because what that means is all the realization, all the awakened beings, those who have accomplished the truth, those who have completely returned to their authenticity, who have become free of what binds us, who are no longer, slaves to the self, to the notion of I, and have completely become one with the truth, which is indeed beyond what we understand in this particular reality, which is a very dual place. What that actually means is that there are so many great realized beings, and so many teachings that fall into the category of various traditions that have been here to serve the infinite beings, right? That are, of course, a unique contribution to the whole. I personally have been interested in this my entire life, not just in theory, because also in theory it's very fascinating, wanting to know where enlightenment has happened on this earth, who has gotten liberated, where they've been liberated, why, what brought that about, what information do we have on such great beings, right up until this day, I have a infinite list of names of beings that have definitely come and incarnated as humans and have gone all the way, and become very awakened, and then have taught the way to the people of how to return to their authenticity. Now, this doesn't mean embarking on the path to awakening, on a truth seeker's quest. It doesn't mean that, if you accomplish that in this reality, if you are able to find that, that it will be something easily found. Of course not. If we look at all the examples in the past, there's always been opposition, challenge, tests, all sorts of things that can happen, right? But the beauty of it all is that, if you really are looking for it, you will find it. If you really want to be free of the perils of the cyclicness, of the limitations of duality, of the suffering that comes within all of this for ourselves and others, if we want the truth, to put it simply, if we seek it out with all our hearts, if we call out for it, if we are longing for it, we will find our way. We will find our unique way. And that way should and generally does come with instruction. Now, that can be found within the beauty of a teacher-student relationship, seeking out a teacher who has, of course, accomplished something, who is accomplished in a realized way, okay? So, Enlightened Lineages, I personally have found so much joy in my entire life. Whatever I find, whatever fragments of evidence that I find that's linked to Enlightened Lineages, which therefore have, of course, their traditions, to share that information with others, and at the very least to collect it, because then we can say, yes, from wherever you are on this earth, within you, there is access. It doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, where you were born, what religion, what faith, what kind of family you have, what background. It doesn't matter. You have access to it. We are all allowed to seek out the truth. We are all completely allowed to want enlightenment and to want it for ourselves and all beings, all of them. So, why is this a great thing to seek out and want? Because it takes you away from the deceit. It takes you away from everything that binds us into a state of falsity. One way or another, we're all going to have to face some kind of difficulty and pain. And in those moments, it's very difficult to endure. We wonder why we have to go through such things. But imagine if you seek out something like enlightenment, if you really wholeheartedly want it for yourself and you want it for everyone, then you are somehow guaranteed to arrive to a state where you go beyond these difficulties. You're no longer entrapped by what brings us to those points of immense pain, suffering, and change. Change can also bring us incredible joy, but at the same time, it can also be a means for a lot of suffering. So, the truth, how it's been taught by great sages of the past, has often been challenged because there is, so much that is stuck, that doesn't want to understand that there is more to it, there's just so much more to it. And that's why you see so much opposition against many, many great ones who have come in the past. If we're looking at the past as a reference, we can look back thousands of years, and literally Enlightened Lineages have been everywhere. I am all about the Enlightened Lineages movement to make us all aware of our own right to connect with that. It's not limited to one speck on this earth. It's been everywhere. Enlightened Lineages have been everywhere. Enlightened Lineages and traditions are for everyone. There have been infinite traditions, okay, that have supported the quest, the truth seeker's quest. And there still are, until this day, unbroken lineages and traditions and teachers who have those unbroken lineages and traditions. And we're very fortunate that there are unbroken lineages and traditions. So, of course, I always like to say it's the best we can do, seeking out an unbroken lineage towards the path to awakening, because You won't fail there. Of course you won't. But there are also fragments in various other traditions and lineages that can be a source of immense inspiration. If you seek out the truth in them, you will find it too, you know. So enlightened lineages in a very prominent way, enlightened lineages and traditions in a very prominent way have been bountiful in places like India, places like China, places like Egypt, places like Greece. These are the four key places, I would say, on a worldwide level that have so much evidence and proof of such awakened lineages, traditions, that have really given people a means, you know, to know themselves. As the great oracle of Delphi said to Socrates, to know thyself, right? And this knowing thyself is so sacred because it is an inside job. One of the most incredible, I guess, similarities that all of these enlightened traditions and fragments of traditions and ways to this so-called awakening have in common, which is just wow, you know, is of course it all works with our inner world, which then definitely goes for our mind, you know, consciousness as well as mind. And many would wonder about the heart, and that's definitely there too. But what is the difference, you know? It's an incredible and fascinating question, because returning to one's authenticity has a lot to do with just how connected we are to our hearts as well. And I'm not referring to the emotional component, you know, where we're talking about just our emotions, you know, because that's just one expression that's part of the show. But returning to our authenticity is understanding all of that for what it really is, yeah, and being completely connected with your heart space, right? That's bringing you even closer to authenticity, because the mind can do all sorts of things, especially the way it maybe the right word is dictates. But what these incredible lineages, enlightened lineages and traditions do is bring us back to that inner world, you know. And if we look at the enlightened lineages that come from shamanistic traditions, for example, and that inner quest, the journey, you know, there's always a goal, and that goal is to find the truth, to understand things as they are, to also return to your authenticity, to your purity, to your essence, right? Not everything else that's taking you away from experiencing things as they truly are, being present as you really truly are, and not through the lens of falsity that is, again, so deceptive. But words don't do any of this justice. I'm just trying to create an ambiance in how I'm explaining everything, to further inspire, to further create inquiry around all of this. So, yes, those four parts of our earth have an abundance of enlightened lineages, and many of those places still have unbroken lineages until today. I have often mentioned Gautama Siddhartha, who was a great sage who was completely realized and has taught the truth, and there's infinite traditions under his way of what he showed this earth, still intact and unbroken until now. So that's a great reference if you want to go into your truth seeker's quest. there are so many traditions in Asia, that have flourished because of the great sage Gautama Siddhartha, also known as the Buddha Shakyamuni, Buddha, which means enlightened, awakened. Okay? In ancient Greece, which is very dear to me by birth, because I'm half Greek, and it's an interesting world because I've explored the Enlightened Lineages there, and there are plenty. Of course there are, and they were in fact incredibly devoted to even this Gautama Siddhartha, believe it or not, 2,600 years ago. And many ancient Greeks were very linked to ancient India, therefore very linked to the sages of the time, those who accomplished things like Gautama Siddhartha did, that came, of course, after him, because many followed in his footsteps. And there was so much that took place that somehow venerated and respected everything he accomplished, and was brought into ancient Greece and was practiced, and you'll see fragments of it and even extensive versions of what Gautama Siddhartha taught in ancient Greek texts and philosophies. If you look at, for example, the Madhyamika, which is, again, a very massive enlightened lineage of its own, which goes back to Nagarjuna and also has quite a vast lineage tree, and that reached ancient Greece. If we look at Pharaoh's philosophy and just how much similarity there is there, which is evidence of the crossover and the respect and the like-minded diversity as well. So yes, ancient Greece has so many, just like ancient India, traditions that are falling under the category of enlightened lineages. Okay, now China is the same. I haven't gone into China as in depth as I have India and Greece, and of course ancient Egypt. But what I do know about China is that they have also really held enlightened lineages and traditions, which can be found through poetry, through literature, through certain art form, and various philosophies there too. Depends on how far back you want to look, but if we're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or so thousands of years ago, you'll see evidences pop up in places like mainland China of sun worship, worshipping the sun, of practices that respected the heavens, that were linking man to greater things such as the skies, planetary influences, just what nature means, and that's also evidence to wanting to seek out something, greater than the self, wanting to commune with something greater than the self, which is divinity, which is, creator, source energy. So those fragments we can see in places like Africa. We can see that in ancient Australia, which is Aboriginal Australia, which has so many traditions that are linked to the dream time, which are in many ways, you could say shamanic, but also very much about, again, transcending the self, communing with divinity, respecting ancestors, respecting those who have come before us, respecting those who have ascended, those who have become one with the universe, right? And that is very evident in Aboriginal culture, and it's an exceptionally, you could say, kind and still culture and way that has many traditions within the law there as well. So these original peoples of lands and places hold their own version of enlightened lineages. There's no doubt there. The evidence around this as well is just how long so many ancient cultures have managed to survive based on traditions that are linked to certain understandings that are enlightened, that sustain their relationship to just being able to function because of the respect to something greater than the self-serving component. And I repeat that, because of their respect to something greater than the self-serving component. I mean, the amount of damage that has been done in the last 100 years, if we look at it, like from right now, from 2024, if we look at the amount of damage that has been done on this earth in the last 100 years, you could easily say, or the last 150 years, is far worse than what has happened in a very, very long time. And that's because of the self-serving component, because of the greed machine, because of the lack of wanting to connect with our authenticity. In fact, we're more interested in things that are external, not about the inner world, right? So enlightened lineages, they have been, of course, in the Americas. You can see that with the natives of the land. You can see the various sacred medicine pathways of connecting with nature, and through that becoming accomplished in ways that, again, connect one to their authenticity. Enlightened lineages can be found, my dear ones, in music, in art, in medicine, in philosophy, in dance. You know, enlightened lineages are not limited. They're not limited to just what is spoken, you know. One can get awakened through so many different means. One can accomplish awakening through so many different means. And the ancients knew this. Those who held enlightened traditions knew this. For example, one of my lineages, the Gypsy lineage, they had very specific ways to relating with nature, which would propel this link to one's authenticity, to one's inner world, you know. And again, a lot of it is very private, but that's what's so sacred about enlightened lineages, is actually a lot of them on a worldwide level were transmitted through the spoken word, through presence, through physically being with an elder or a lineage holder, having that physical contact, and then having certain truths transmitted through. If we look at everywhere throughout Europe, North, Central, West, South, East, of course, enlightened lineages have been everywhere, all throughout Europe, all throughout Asia. There's not one place in Asia where enlightened lineages have not happened. Africa as well. Enlightened lineages have gone all throughout Africa. Lineages also, again, I repeat, represents various traditions that bring you towards truth, okay? Astrology is an enlightened lineage of sorts. The astrological language is an enlightened language. When you're talking about the stars, you're connecting to a very high frequency. You're straight away connecting to a language that is trying to support and resolve the imprint to bring you closer to truth, right? So your cosmic imprint, the language is trying to resolve and support that, to bring you closer to truth, to be liberating you, to free you from, again, that cyclicness, that which keeps us bound, that takes us away from our authentic presence, right? So when we look at terms such as self-discovery, when we look at terms such as truth seeker's quest, the journey, path to awakening, you know, all of this, still until this day, there are thankfully unbroken lineages. There are also fragments of many, many authentic lineages as well. There are many secret universes within this earth of great teachers that have incredible lineages that secretly offer incredible things to those who somehow have a connection. There are many possibilities, many traditions. So if you are all interested in enlightened lineages, if you are all interested in getting enlightened, if you're interested in seeking out the truth, you have to, with all your heart, ask for that. and you will find your way. But you ask for it for yourself. You ask for it for you, of course, and for all this universe. You want to get enlightened for the highest good, for the utmost benefit, right? For the highest degree of benefit. That's why you want to get enlightened. And you want to figure out what that means for you, you know. Your journey is a unique contribution to the whole. If you can seek out a teacher who has accomplished something, thankfully there are many in this day and age who are still with us. And I can assure you, if you pray for an authentic one, you will find one. Sometimes we have to have many teachers. Sometimes we have to go through many different types of experiences, which is embodied in the teacher-student relationship. For example, in India, anyone who teaches you something is your teacher, you know, and whether it's your mom, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's your teacher at school who's a formal teacher, whether it's where you learn to do things at work, you know, anyone who provides you with knowledge is your teacher. So looking at it from an enlightened perspective, if you want to be awakened for yourself and others for the highest good and highest benefit, if you want to return to that authentic place, you seek out examples. There are various unbroken examples in terms of lineage trees. And there are many divinities, you know, many representations of realized beings who have accomplished something in recent past, in the immediate past, in far, far away past, you know. And thankfully there are many alive right now as well, from various parts on this earth, from all over the earth, not limited to one place or one locality. So it's a matter of requesting it from your heart, wanting that from your heart, and seeking it out truly in your heart. And then you'll find your unique journey, which contributes to the whole, and you will find the teachers that will support that journey. Ideally accomplished teachers, ideally teachers that really are authentic. So please, please, please continue to support this Enlightened Lineages movement. What I do is I get as much information together of all the different fragments, of all the different snippets of evidence of the enlightenment that has happened on this earth, of people that have become fully realized or have had some kind of accomplishment from all different traditions and belief systems all over this earth, okay, that were linked to enlightenment, to truth that frees us, that is authentic, that is the truth of truths. And that, for me, is such a wonderful thing to share with everyone, because we need the inspiration, we need proof. This is why I'm absolutely devoted to things like astrology, my divinatory work, my own personal lineage when it comes to things like the tarot and what that is in terms of a lineage, how that can make you understand the truth seeker's quest, the journey itself, and every part of it, such as the tarot, which is the royal road, which means you are embarking on something greater than an ordinary path. You want something bigger than that. So I'm very devoted to what I'm doing, and the fundamental reason is because of the truth in it. And I want everyone to have access to the truth and to seek it out and to become it. So thank you so much, for the benefit of all, of course. So thank you.